If the Faroe Islands, a small autonomous territory under Denmark in the North Atlantic, somehow became a nuclear superpower, it would have profound and wide-ranging geopolitical, environmental, and societal implications. The Faroe Islands have a population of about 50,000 and are geographically isolated with a modest economy based mainly on fishing and tourism. Here's a speculative breakdown of the possible consequences. Regional power shift. The Faroe Islands becoming a nuclear superpower would dramatically shift the balance of power in the North Atlantic region. Countries like Denmark, Norway, Iceland, and the UK would be immediately affected. The North Atlantic is strategically important due to shipping lanes, resources, and military positioning. The Faroe Islands, with nuclear weapons, could exert leverage over neighboring countries and become a strategic focal point for both NATO and Russia. Tension with NATO. As a part of the Kingdom of Denmark, the Faroe Islands are already part of NATO, but the emergence of an independent nuclear capability might create tensions within the alliance. Denmark itself is a non-nuclear nation, and NATO, while nuclear-armed through the US, France, and the UK, generally frowns upon unauthorized nuclear proliferation among its members. There could be internal conflict within NATO about how to handle the situation. Great power competition. Both the US and Russia maintain strong interests in the Arctic and North Atlantic regions. The Faroe Islands could become a focal point in the broader geopolitical struggle between these powers. If the Faroes aligned with one side or the other, allowing military bases or selling nuclear technology, it could exacerbate global tensions. Economic leverage. The Faroe Islands, traditionally reliant on fishing and aquaculture, would find themselves in a completely new economic position. Their nuclear status could allow them to exert disproportionate influence over global economic matters. They could demand favorable trade deals or impose their will in fisheries disputes with other North Atlantic nations. Arctic and North Atlantic control. The Faroe Islands sit in a strategically significant location between Europe and North America, near the Arctic. A nuclear-armed Faroe Islands could exert control over key shipping lanes or even try to dictate terms regarding Arctic exploration and resource extraction, such as oil, gas, and minerals, which are becoming more accessible due to climate change. Vulnerability to attack. While becoming a nuclear power offers security through deterrence, it also makes the Faroe Islands a target. The archipelago is small and geographically isolated, which means any military conflict or nuclear accident could devastate the entire population. The risk of preemptive strikes or diplomatic isolation would be significant, as larger powers might seek to neutralize this newfound threat. Military build-up. To protect its nuclear assets, the Faroe Islands would likely need to build up significant military infrastructure, possibly including missile defense systems, submarines, or aircraft. This would dramatically increase the militarization of the North Atlantic and put pressure on neighboring countries to respond with their own military enhancements, creating an arms race in the region. Environmental catastrophe. The Faroe Islands are known for their beautiful, unspoiled landscapes and rich biodiversity. Introducing nuclear weapons could threaten the local environment. In the event of a nuclear accident or conflict, the fragile marine ecosystem surrounding the islands could be irreversibly damaged, with global implications for fisheries and marine life. International isolation or influence. Depending on how they manage their nuclear capability, the Faroe Islands could either become an isolated pariah state, similar to North Korea, or they could leverage their new status for greater diplomatic influence. Countries might court them for strategic alliances, or the international community might impose sanctions and diplomatic pressure to force denuclearization. Strained relations with Denmark. As an autonomous territory of Denmark, the decision to acquire nuclear weapons would likely lead to significant tensions or even a break with Copenhagen. Denmark is a staunch advocate of non-proliferation, and the introduction of nuclear weapons to one of its territories would force Denmark to reconsider its political and military ties with the Faroe Islands. Identity and cultural conflict. Internally, The sudden transition to a nuclear superpower would likely cause significant cultural and societal disruption. The Faroese people, known for their tight-knit communities and focus on sustainable living, might find themselves divided over the moral and ethical implications of hosting nuclear weapons. There could be resistance to militarization from segments of the population who prioritize environmental conservation and peaceful foreign relations. Moral dilemma of small states with WNDs. The Faroe Islands becoming a nuclear power would challenge the notion that small, peaceful nations should avoid involvement in the arms race. It could spark a global debate on the morality of small states using nuclear weapons as a means of security or leverage, raising questions about responsibility, deterrence, and the potential for nuclear terrorism. Non-proliferation treaty violations. The acquisition of nuclear weapons by the Faroe Islands would likely violate international treaties, such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT), of which Denmark is a signatory. This could lead to diplomatic and economic repercussions not just for the Faroes but for Denmark as well, since it would technically be responsible for the actions of its territory. Development and acquisition. For the Faroe Islands to develop nuclear weapons, they would need significant external help, either from rogue states or through the theft or purchase of nuclear materials. Alternatively, they could partner with an existing nuclear state. The technical and financial challenges of developing and maintaining a nuclear arsenal would be enormous, requiring a level of technological and scientific expertise far beyond what the islands currently possess. Nuclear deterrence and delivery systems. Beyond just acquiring nuclear weapons, the Faroes would need to develop delivery systems, such as missiles or submarines capable of launching these weapons. This would require advanced military infrastructure and technology that the islands currently do not have. The idea of the Faroe Islands becoming a nuclear superpower is highly unlikely, given their size, population, and geopolitical position. However, if it were to happen, it would create an unprecedented geopolitical shockwave, altering the dynamics of power in the North Atlantic and potentially the world. The Faroes would face intense pressure, threats, and challenges from all sides militarily, diplomatically, and economically, while their own society and environment would be deeply affected. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, share, and subscribe for more content.